discussion now is Simon Rosenberg, a Democratic strategist. He's the author of Hopium Chronicles on Substack. Simon, we're keeping an eye on the microphone there because Tom Suozzi is not going to wait for us. That's our information. Anyway, they have very sophisticated digital and statistical tracking in the New York State Democratic Party, tracking this all day long. I've been in touch with many of those people as the day has proceeded, and they have been confident at every step of this, where we are tonight. And you have been telling people a version of what Steve was just saying about polls, how the polls are capturing people now for the presidential race who might not be turning out for that presidential race. And that's one of the elements that makes the current presidential campaign polls less interesting to be staring at, because they are predicting an action so far from where these voters live tonight that many of them just might not even show up and vote, but they, in effect, cast their votes in these polls.
Yeah, listen, I mean, just to remind everybody, right, we had a great election in 2018 and then a great election in 2020 where we took away the presidency, the Senate, and the House from the Republicans. And then usually what happens is the party in power loses seats, right? You lose midterm elections, you lose these kind of off-year and special elections, and the exact opposite's been happening. Something really dramatic and historic has been happening, which is that we won those races in 2018 and 2020, and now we're winning everything in 2022, 23, and 2024. I mean, there's been a basic fundamental dynamic, in my view, in our politics since the spring of 2022 when Dobbs happened, which is that Democrats keep overperforming expectations and Republicans keep struggling. It's showing up in every kind of race. It's now in 3 different calendar years. It's all over the country. It's the same fundamental dynamic. And it's a central reason why I'm so optimistic about our chances in 2024, because when voters vote, we win. And when voters vote, they lose. And I would much rather be the party that keeps winning elections all across the country in every type of election than the one that keeps losing it.
And this is the kind of congressional district, suburban congressional district, that Joe Biden has to win in places like Pennsylvania, for example, that can give him the Electoral College.
Listen, the big news tonight is if we take a district that we lost by 7.5 points last time in 2022 and flip it, and what could be by more than a little bit based on the numbers we're seeing tonight, it means all those Republicans in those Biden districts, the 17, 18, I'm forgetting now the exact number, who won Biden districts in 2022 are terrified because this is exactly the kind of district the Republicans have to hold. And as Steve pointed out, this is looking a lot more like 2020 than 2022 in this district, and we won the national election by 4.5 points. But what's also important, as Steve pointed out, and Steve's analysis was terrific tonight, by the way, is that you forget that the only part of the country where we didn't do very well were New York and California last time. We did in 2022. We did very well in the battleground states, right? We gained ground in Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, Minnesota, Michigan, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania. And so if we're now repairing the losses and the struggle that we had in these 2 big states, California and New York, and start winning those House races, it means that the chance of us flipping the House in 2024 and winning the presidency is much higher than it would have been, I think, a few days ago.
When you look at this race tonight with Tom Suozzi in there, if you lived through this campaign in New York, your television was bombarded with the Democratic ads, the Suozzi campaign ads, which were about abortion rights and preserving abortion rights. And then the Republican ads were all about the southern border. Those 2 issues went to war on television in big budget campaigns, and one of those issues won big.
It's another warning sign for a party that is broken right now, the Republican Party, because what we know from history is that the issue of immigration and the border never rises up to a top-tier issue. They don't win general elections on immigration and the border. They may win primary races. If you remember in 2018, Trump spent the last month of the 2018 midterm cycle talking about the caravans and the invasion at the border, and we won that election by 8.5 points. And that's because for most voters, there are just things that matter more than the border and immigration. It doesn't mean they're not important. It's just that the economy, healthcare, abortion rights, reproductive rights, other things matter more. And when Republicans have historically tried to turn immigration into a general election issue, they've repeatedly failed. And I think the Republicans, if I can say one more thing really quickly, is that I think the danger now for the Republican Party is that all these talking points they have about Biden and the Democrats have evaporated in the last couple of months. The economy is strong. We're not in recession. Inflation is way down. Crime is way down all across the country. We're not going through a crime wave in the United States. There is no war on energy. We produce more domestic renewables and oil than any year in history. And the one area where they still retained an advantage was on border and immigration. They lost on it tonight, and they also grossly mismanaged the issue and handed it to us last week. All of their advantages on all the major issues are evaporating right now, and they're in a lot of trouble, I think, in 2024.
Simon, what we also saw here in the Democratic Party was flawless teamwork and organization. Governor Hochul endorsing a candidate who ran against her, and Tom Suozzi ran what was, for the governor, a nasty campaign against her. Not the kind of thing people expected to see in a Democratic primary.
Tom's a tough guy.
She rose above that. She endorsed him. Hakeem Jeffries endorsed him. They got together with that one candidate early, and they all unified around that one candidate, which is where they obviously are with an incumbent president.
So I've gotten to know Tom Suozzi during this race. We talked frequently. He's been texting me over the last few days. I mean, my organization, Hopium, raised over $100,000 for him and helped direct, thousands of volunteers to this race because I knew how important this was going to be for the psyche of the Democratic Party and for Hakeem Jeffries and the new leadership of the House. And this was a big win for us. I mean, this is a big boost of confidence for us as we head into this cycle. But I want to say that Tom Suozzi was a great candidate. He worked his butt off. He built a really good campaign. He involved the national grassroots in an unprecedented way, which allowed thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of people from all over the country to become integrated into his campaign to help push turnout to what we've seen. Tom ran a great race. He deserves a lot of credit. He worked really hard. He brought incredible intensity. He knew how important this was for New York and New York Democrats who had been struggling in recent years. So this is just like the wins we've had in Florida, in Jacksonville, and then in this House district we won in Orlando, Tom Keene, a few weeks ago. The Florida Democrats have started sort of repairing some of the damage that had been done in previous elections. We just did a lot of repairing tonight in New York, and it's really, I think, going to make a lot of New Yorkers really happy.